Welcome to HD Nation, your guide to the best in HD content and the best in home theater gear, no matter what your budget is. All the money, none of the money. We are here for you. I'm Patrick Norton.
Hey, and I'm Robert Herron.
Rumor has it you don't miss cable anymore.
Not really.
2 months. Or as you were like, I think it's been 2 weeks. No, it's been 2 cable bills, which I'm going to translate as 2 months.
I didn't even notice it. No, although I am spending a little bit of money, though, with subscription programs, like things for baseball and some of my sports programming that I love. The things that are available in a high-def streaming format, I'm taking advantage of for significantly less money than I was spending per month on my cable bill, for sure.
MLB application, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Awesome. Just the best. Except for the blackout stuff for local games. Right. You got to usually wait 90 minutes after the game finishes. But if you're a baseball fan, the MLB TV Season Pass gets you the mobile app along with all the high-def streaming you can handle for every game, every day. It's a lot of baseballs. But if you're a baseball fan, that's a value. The full package is like $130 a year, and I'm digging it.
For less than 10? Well,
you can get just the audio and video streamed to your mobile device for a lot less, but just get the whole package if you're a baseball fan and enjoy. I'm watching it on my PS3.
Right.
That does a pretty good job. They just updated the software recently. I don't know if they did this across the board with all the MLB TV apps, but on the PlayStation 3 specifically, it was doing a slight hitch or a stutter, a repeating stutter as I was watching any high-def feed. And since this latest update with 5.1, I want to say, or 5.2, that has smoothed right out, and the HD feed is looking very HD now, and it's terrific. And I got to say, my favorite feature has to be the natural sound of a stadium without the broadcast announcers, and that is pretty cool for an optional audio thing.
Because I can hear the announcer at the A's Stadium from my house.
Really?
Yeah. If there's moisture in the air.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can practically throw a rock.
But I gotta say that's pretty cool. And I've also subscribed to MotoGP. That is pretty good. And that, though, I just recently discovered has caused a whole different browsers respond differently to streaming video. So I've noticed now, and apparently a lot of you agree with me. I found that overall, the granddaddy Internet Explorer seems to be the go-to browser for steady, consistent streaming quality. I'm finding I get little hiccups and stuff with any other browser.
I've been turning off various hidden settings buried inside of Chrome. I will report as my findings become more or less clear. There's a lot of crap going on.
One of the 100 plugins I might have had too, but I stripped them all out and I'm still getting that same issue, but
we'll talk about this
next week. We will.
A comment on our YouTube page tells us it's time to go out with the old and in with the new. We're talking about AntennaWeb and TVFool. Generally speaking, the viewer was pointing out that it's faster to generate the map and channel list, and you get a better channel list
for TVFool and AntennaWeb.org.
Oh my goodness.
AntennaWeb's that old school one. Here is AntennaWeb. After you've entered your address of where you live, it gives you this map with some lines drawn toward the broadcast towers, along with a channel list and an indication, depending on where you plan on placing your antenna, what kind of antenna you might need in terms of quality for receiving the given stations. As you scroll down the list, the stations become harder and harder to tune without appropriate gear. Likewise, everyone's pointing us toward TVFool because, and I'll admit, I kind of like this interface a little bit better. The polar graph showing you the direction of each channel, a little bit easier, I think, to see than that Google Maps mashup on the previous thing I just showed you. Again, too, right next to it is every channel, the real channel numbers, the virtual channel numbers, the network call symbols, and again, the directional indicator as to where the stations are located around you and for setup. And for that, you know, I just plugged in our local address here at the office, and I gotta say, I think I am slowly coming around to the TVFool as the source of what channels are available around me.
It is really cool rather than looking at a map and doing line of sight, although a topo map can be great. If you live in a part of the country where there's really, really big hills, having a topographic map in front of you can tell you whether or not you're going to be able to see something or receive a signal without jacking up a freaking 100-yard high antenna in your backyard or hanging it off a weather balloon.
Totally.
But it's nice to be able to be like, oh, okay, those channels from San Jose, probably not going to get them. Those channels from Sacramento, definitely not going to get them. These are the channels I can concentrate on, but it's a nice interface.
Without a doubt. And I know a lot of people aren't near a broadcast tower in the country. This is only if you're in one of the major markets where they are doing over the air. And we've been getting a lot of questions too about what do you do when you're not dealing with, you know, satellite or cable. You're a cord cutter, yet you don't have access to over the air, and you're pretty much just stuck with internet-based stuff. Or what else?
I don't feel stuck with internet-based stuff. I feel blessed with internet-based stuff.
A good internet connection can make up for a lot, but what if you really don't even have that? And those are some of the things I think we'll get into here in the coming weeks. We've got some good ideas and things you might not have thought of.
It's why Netflix X still delivers discs.
That and your public library, hint, hint. So, hey, when it comes to video formats, we talk a lot about RGB versus component video, say from a graphics card to a TV set. Now, these formats, in theory, both formats should appear identical when they are connected and being fed to a properly functioning HD TV now.
Let us underline that one more time. Properly, as in someone hasn't gone in and done terrible things with the settings, or the factory just didn't make some terrible decisions when they were configuring the television before they sent it to you.
All likely possibilities, without a doubt now. Now, in practice, internally, the TV may do its own internal calculations when it's being fed the video format. It may actually do these calculations in the component video format, and actually then would be converted back to RGB before it's finally fed to the subpixels that light up and give you what you actually see. So, generally speaking, if you've got the choice between component versus RGB from your source device, use component video. That is by far the most common format out there, and it's the one most consumer devices are waiting for, in a sense. Right. Also, that 444, when you talk about sometimes with component video, 444 or other ratio numbers, that basically is telling you how the color is being sampled for encoding. Now I have a neat little chart right here that shows a color representation of these different formats. 444 is effectively telling you that it's full resolution in both the horizontal and the vertical sampling as far as color information goes. Now, with Blu-ray and DVD, it actually uses a system called 422, where the color information specifically is half resolution in both the vertical and the horizontal. Something to keep in mind.
422 or 420?
420 gets you to where it's half in both, the horizontal and the vertical is each cut in half in terms of how much data is being stored. It's really well compressed. That is why we're able to store so much video on a DVD or a Blu-ray disc, is because we are squeezing the crud out of the color information. Now, I have a nifty graph here. It's like, oh, okay, but what do you mean you're cutting the color information in half? Here's a nice little chart that just shows you specifically for color only. Now at full quality, and in particular, pay attention to this little red dot on the train. Here it is at full information, and this black and white representation is showing you the color detail only. This is not the luminance information, just to make that clear. Now as we slide on down, one of the first things you'll notice is that the color information can start to get a little fuzzier and fuzzier, and by the time we get to 420, it is not nearly as sharp and crisp as you'd have with the original RGB. So, this is actually just, it's highlighting how much you can squeeze that color detail and still maintain a picture that's not only watchable, but it's really the only way we can deliver this video without faster bandwidth or without significantly more bandwidth nowadays. Now, if you're dealing with HDMI inputs on the majority of display devices out there today, stick with your display device outputting that YPbPr or component video first. And if you're dealing with maybe an older display that has a DVI input, it may actually prefer RGB input. Either way, in the case, especially with DVI input TVs, especially I'm thinking older rear projection TVs, try both and see which works best. And that's where it comes. That's where having a test disc really comes in handy. There are some free ones out there. We've discussed the AVS 709 disc and others as well. But that's where it's good to have a reference material to take a look at.
But verified.
Without a doubt.
By the way, you want to learn more about color spaces when it comes to the color grading, you want to learn about, I don't know, video editing, how to do cool and exciting things, you should check out lynda.com/HDNation. They're a sponsor. You'll get the skills you need to get ahead in your career and in life. lynda.com/HDNation. You will get a 7-day free trial, and we already know you love movies, so watch some movies at lynda.com. Usually we talk about the latest Blu-rays, and we will, but I got to ask you if y'all have any 4K content questions. We've got a monster 4K gaming system in from Puget Systems, along with an Asus PQ321, and we're on the hunt for UHD eye candy. Got questions, got stuff we should look at, tweet at HDNation or email hdnation@revision3.com and let us know if you're thinking about 4K and UHD, because also Samsung last week dropped that their hard drive 4K that they announced at CES is going to be $300 and available
coming, I want to say in the next month or so. It'll be available. They're partnering with Paramount and with Fox Pictures to deliver basically a proprietary box, a la what Sony was doing with their 4K streaming box right now. It's going to come preloaded with some content, 5 movies as well as some documentaries in the 4K format. They're going to have a second version of this box coming out in the second half of the year, but the manufacturers are paying attention. And they're also looking at deals too with DirecTV and others as to what other ways can we get 4K into your house and onto the screens that are selling like hotcakes.
YouTube. I was looking at 4K videos on YouTube this morning. We'll talk about that a whole nother day. 4K YouTube. Makes you laugh, doesn't it? Frozen, American Hustle, and Saving Mr. Banks all hit Blu-ray and streaming services last week. Frozen on Blu-ray definitely on the short list for 2014's list of reference quality movies that make your home theater look sick. If you want us to cover notable titles on streaming sites, by the way, let us know at HD Nation, HDNation at revision3.com. New Blu-rays this week, The Wolf of Wall Street, which, well, hey, people in New York behaving badly because they have too much money and not enough sense. Classic use of Leonard. And Odd Thomas, which I didn't want to see till I read Blu-ray.com's write-up. Classical music label Naxos is doing Blu-ray movies now. I definitely want to get my hands on great pianists of the 20th century. And the Best of Bogart collection is tempting. $35 for 4 50-gigabyte Blu-rays packed with a Maltese Falcon, Casablanca, The Treasure of Sierra Madre, The African Queen. That is some amazing, epic, classic movie eye candy right there.
Casablanca is timeless. That movie never gets old.
It is amazing. As is Harold Lloyd in The Freshman, a 1925 classic distributed by Criterion, transferred by UCLA. This is amazing. Quote, this new digital transfer was created in 4K resolution on a Northlight film scanner from the UCLA Film and Television's Archives 1998 restoration negative. The UCLA restoration, supervised by Preservation Officer Robert Gitt and funded by the David and Lucille Packard Foundation, utilized footage from both the foreign release version entitled College Days and the domestic release version. I could go on for a while, but it's a sick version of a movie that helped define physical comedy. We love you, Criterion, and by the way, let's make sure today's classics are kept safe so they don't require this kind of effort.
That facility, sponsored by the Packards, actually, is one of the safest, secure places for the original, was it the nitrate film stock that was in the camera being shot back in the day?
Nitrate film stock is essentially pretty amazing, but what's funny is it's essentially a license to explode or disintegrate and explode, right? It's one of the most volatile substance archivists can deal with, and they hate it for that reason, so transferring it to digital is a really good idea at 4K or 8K resolution. And it's also really funny, for the stuff we grew up on in the 80s, the biggest problem is they used really crappy film, and then they didn't really store the negatives, because hey, you know, why is a
We had VHS tape back then.
Oh my goodness. Don't get me started.
Sorry.
Michael writes in, you guys have inspired me to go the home theater PC route and no longer use cable boxes. I've had a Ceton 6 for about a year now with 2 Xbox 360s as extenders. The only problem is my 3 terabyte hard drive is getting full. My cable provider allows you to copy freely on all channels, including HBO and Showtime. I'm looking for the most graceful way to convert these videos, as well as cut out commercials to save space and then play back with Plex. Thanks, Michael. My first thought was like, get an NAS or a bigger drive because it'll take you forever to manually cut commercials out. You can batch convert the video files, let your processor run 100% until the job is done, but frankly, you're probably saving video out in MPEG-4, and that's already pretty densely packed.
Yeah, or I'm hoping you don't live alone. Otherwise, I'm going to call you a hoarder right now, and I feel your pain. Start cutting back on the number of shows you're actually saving. 3 terabytes represents hundreds of hours of HD programming. Have you no streaming options for this content? That'd be my first thing to say. Just, I end up recording stuff that I realize I can get from other sources easily.
Part of the problem is, though, sometimes you can stream something and then the contract ends and then you can't stream it anymore and you're like, oh.
And I keep stuff on my hard drive forever, like all of last season's races or something like that. However, I do have an option for you here in terms of being able to record your shows but then have them automatically processed. Check out, anybody who's using basically Windows Media Center to record their TV shows should take a look at MCEBuddy 2.x. This piece of wonderful software has been around for quite a while, and let me scroll right down to the features that you will just love. We're talking the ability to remove commercials, convert your videos to other formats, shrink them. It's a multi-threaded application, so you can do multiple shows simultaneously. Tons of great features and cool stuff there.
And it's all automatic and in the background.
Yep, you can monitor the folder you're recording to, have it dump off to your NAS device, or wherever the family can then grab their content and move them onto your mobile devices or whatever you want to do with it. That's just a pretty cool app. And it's been around for a while, and everybody I talk to just loves it. And I'm so used to just hitting the channel skip button or the skip ahead 30-second button that I've never gotten into the habit of editing stuff I've recorded. Although MCEBuddy makes it pretty darn easy. So yeah.
So you won't have to manually go through your thousands of hours of video that you've scrolled away.
Although I've taken to using a keyboard and just using the down arrow and delete button and just really quick. So
I did a fast review this last week, the Harmony Smart Keyboard. You actually brought it home and you have the home theater perspective for us.
Without a doubt. I have to say, the overall use for the new Harmony keyboard and the hub that it comes with, the setup, as you mentioned, was pretty simple. And the Android app, though, specifically talking about how it works with Android, I have a pretty convoluted password for just about everything I'm using. And in this case, the app for the MyHarmony account login won't let me paste my username or password, so I had to actually go change things to make them a little more easier. That was just a pain. However, once I logged in...
For normal humans that remember their passwords.
50-character passwords, but I ain't remembering that. But I changed it to something easy just to get the setup done. But once I logged into my account, it found my current Harmony remote, which is still there, and it copied all the settings over right to the new device, which I thought was just to the smart keyboard. And that part was beautifully nice, and I really did like it. Now, keyboard control for my PlayStation 3 included that Wi-Fi adapter, which is a storage compartment built into the keyboard for the unused adapter, which I absolutely love that. And also, adding the keyboard, it was with Wi-Fi, but also for the control for my phone, it would connect via Bluetooth. And for my personal computer, that's a Bluetooth keyboard as well. So my home theater computer, I'm actually connecting directly with Bluetooth. Using the Bluetooth adapter on my PC, on my home theater PC, that just worked like a charm. Now, usability overall, the smartphone control, having that on your smartphone is awfully convenient. The setup and control all in one device. This morning, I'm laying in bed. Normally, I've got like my radio station streaming on my phone, but I'm like, oh wait, I can fire up the AVR in the living room while I'm laying here, tuned my favorite morning radio show, all before I even stepped onto the floor to walk out of my room. And for that is true convenience right there. However, I will say I really almost need a dedicated remote, because always reaching for the smartphone anytime I want to do something remote control wise was kind of a pain, although reaching for the keyboard was almost just as good.
See, it's funny because I'm already
the performance of the keyboard is actually really good in terms of just speed of control. And it's got a giant off button for turning everything off quickly, which I loved.
We like giant off buttons. Touchpad worked well?
Worked well. There's a toggle switch for it on and off until I figured that out. I was then able to, once I toggled it on, it worked great. However, I have an older iPhone 4. I have the original iPhone 4, which I keep around as a test device and other things. It doesn't support Bluetooth Low Energy, which I found out the hard way, because the hub kept wanting to go, I really prefer a Bluetooth connection for speed, and because my iPhone 4 wasn't able to communicate with the Harmony hub that way, I found that performance sometimes lagged compared to using my Galaxy S3, which apparently does have Bluetooth Low Energy format. I also preferred the Galaxy S3's larger display as a remote control because it also required fewer screens to show some of the available controls. Also, I found out that only one smartphone at a time could communicate with the Harmony hub, so if you have a house full of people, that might just prove to be a sharing experience. And there's a big Philips Hue Bridge icon on the front of all of the control interfaces on the smart devices, which I don't picture a lot of people using, and it's really kind of a waste of space. That should only be there if you're using it.
It's ironic you mentioned that because
I want a Philips product now.
We have a box, we have a box of the Hue lights coming in, which are essentially wireless remote controlled light bulbs, because everybody needs a wire. Actually,
I have infrared controlled light bulbs. But I bought separately.
Well, just imagine as you hit as you hit the Blu-ray button on your phone, all of the lights dimming as the screen comes down.
I'm down with that.
It's the dream. That's it for this episode of HD Nation. Please subscribe, or visit tv.com/HDNation or youtube.com/HDNation, and send those links to your friends.
Do it. That's right, people. And do email us your comments, your questions, or your suggestions, or post them right down below. And until next time, thank you so much for watching.